Hi, welcome back to Skunkworks. We're in the Waste Industries workshop today down in Te Rapa, and we're introducing Luke's daily driver.
So today we're going to do a quick run through of the car, what the specs are, engine, whatnot, and then we're going to move into a bit of work on it later on. So the purpose for this wagon is to have a daily that's going to be real fuel efficient but also have most of the creature comforts. So what I got is a 320D in performance. It's exactly stock, nothing's been done to it so far. All we've done is put roof racks on it, just for it easier to make it carry whatever we're going when we go away for the summer and whatnot. 19-inch wheels with the non-in performance brakes, which we're going to fix today. We're going to put the in performance upgrade on it. It's motorsport, as you can tell. It's got the in performance lip, which is a bit bashed up, and we're going to be replacing in a couple of weeks. And it has the side trims on the skirt as well. Dual HIDs, sunroof, and apart from that, it's just your standard F31. For the interior, same. It's got an 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox, which is the 8 HP, and then that's about it, really. Same with the back. My laptop. Might look at getting a leather interior for it as well when we can find a car that's been wrecked that pops up, but it's something we'll look into later. So here, as you can see here, we've got a full M Performance brake kit pretty much. So brand new rotors, we went with Zimmerman rotors, new brake wear sensors, AT pads, and a set of M Performance calipers. The calipers have just had a quick clean up, but apart from that, they came off a running car, so they are used. And we've just bought all new consumable parts.
Alright, so Luke's going to start taking apart the rear.
Yep, so just going to take off the anti-rattle clip to start with, which you just pry from the inside of the rotor. And then we're also going to remove the brake line just to get that out of the way, and then we can put it onto the new caliper. So to do that, just an 11mm on the top. And there. I'm sure that was loud. And the fluid will start to leak out. It's not the end of the world. We're going to have to bleed the brakes, obviously, so we'll be topping it up. You don't really want to let it run dry to the point where there's like no fluid left in the system, because then you've got to bleed the ABS again, but we have all the software to do that if necessary. So on the back of the caliper, it's just a 14mm. Take the line off, and then if you just get it stretched out straight, you can quickly flick it around and it'll come out. That's out.
So just going to start unbolting the back of the caliper. You need quite a few extensions to get into this, just because everything that's in the way. They can be kind of tight.
Cool. So after Harry's taken out those two bolts, the 16s in the back, just going to pull them out, and then the caliper, because the rotor has such a lip on it, the caliper is stuck on with where it's sitting. So if you just wind it back and forth, fluid will come out of the back of it, which will allow the pistons to go back into the housing, and then it just falls off. So now that we've got that one off, we're going to just grab a 6mm Allen and remove the set screw, which is holding the rotor to the hub. And quite often these are going to be stuck on the hub, so we're just going to use a rubber mallet to loosen it from the hub. Obviously you wouldn't do this if you were planning on reusing the rotor, but as these are rubbish to us, it doesn't really matter. And that just breaks it free from all the corrosion, and then you can just kind of wind it back and forth to get it off. And now we have a hub with the brake shoes and good to install all of the new stuff. So you can see I've already taken the brake line which came off the old caliper, and that fits up to these. They're all the same no matter what calipers you're running. And I've put the new calipers in. So all it is you just slide the pads in, they run on the sides up against the pistons. You've got to make sure the pistons are pushed all the way back. And then we just have a pin which goes through from the back. And that just goes through the housing and then through each of the pads straight through, and you just tap that until it's flush up against the back. You'll see that it's starting to poke out the other side. They don't have any method of securing besides the little ring on the back, which is just lodged in the back. And then once we get them on the car, we will put the retaining spring on top and the second pin in the bottom, which will stop them moving around. Same with what we'll show you now on the fronts. It's the same system, so I've just got a pin sitting through it to hold the pads in place. All 4 pistons are pushed all the way back. And then all I need to do is when we take the front one apart, we will put the soft line which comes off the car into here. Cool. So I've copper greased the hub just to stop it getting stuck on next time. And you've got to make sure that it goes on straight because you're also going over the handbrake shoes in the back. We're just lining it up with holes. And then we're putting the little set screw back in. Just got to make sure that it's all straight and it should just fall into place. There we go. And it's not stupid tight, just don't get hand at the end of the ratchet, you get too much torque on it, just a little bit. And then, like anything that's moving, we're just gonna do a little line from the rotor onto the screw, and that's just to show that if anything starts to rattle free, we can see that it started to move and address that issue. Now installing the caliper, we need to make sure that we get these backing plates on and they stay in place, so we're just going to slide those in. They don't have any method of retaining themselves to the pads besides being pressed up against it. Obviously once they're in the car we're not going to have an issue, but when the pads are free floating they tend to bounce around a fair bit, which is why they're just going on now. Push this one up from underneath because it'll make our life easier. And then we just slide them back. And we're good to go. When installing it as well, you always make sure that you've got the right caliper on the right side. The M logos are going to be different, obviously, but the bleed nipple always goes at the top. Because obviously air rises, and when you are bleeding it, you want the air to rise up and out of the caliper. So we're just going to get those hand tight just so they're sitting on, and then we can get back underneath and tighten them up. So we've just jumped back underneath and Harry's just going to tighten up on the new caliper. So we'll just get these nipped up and then we'll grab the torque wrench and torque them to spec. So we're just going to jump in the back and hook up the soft line. So you just got to make sure that it's roughly how it feels. Like, don't obviously put it in if it's buckled. Make sure it's also clear of debris. So we'll just grab some brake clean just to wash that out quickly. Going to wash out the line, just make sure there's no shit around it. And then also nothing around here, which is kind of full of it at the moment. Road grime. Clear that out. And then also make sure that the threads are clear on the brake line, because we don't want anything being pushed into it. Back on there. So now that that's all cleaned up, we're just going to jump in here and get the brake line sitting roughly where it wants. Just start it by hand so that you know it's not going to cross or anything. And then you can just grab your 11mm spinner and start to wind that in. bit hard to see. I know I'm blocking the camera a little bit. These should not be stupid tight as well. And if they're starting to feel like when you're loosening them off it doesn't want to come undone, make sure you're using a flare wrench, which is designed for brake lines. And then same as with the other side, just nip them up. And you can see that line's not touching anything and it's nice free moving through there. So the next part is just that spring clip that goes on the back. Just going to put that in, sitting on that, so it goes through there. And I'll show you that in a second when I get my hands out of the way. And then we're just going to feed it through from the back, through each of the pads. Through the spring, which doesn't want to move very well. And then straight into the caliper. And then we just have a tiny little hammer just to knock it the rest of the way in. And then that's in. That's all that goes in itself. Sits in there now. Cool.
So now that Luke's done installing the caliper, this rear brake's all done. So that's kind of a from old to new conversion for this rear, and we'll probably move to the front now and do the same thing. You can see the old one is still on here. There you go.
So we've put the rear brakes on now, so they're done. So new rotors and pads and calipers obviously. Got them in. Same on the front. New rotor, pads. And we've got the old ones here for a bit of a side-by-side as well. So that's the rears, front caliper, front caliper, rear, front. We've got a little bit of background noise going on today, just as we're getting some more being put up in the shop as well. So the side we want to make sure we also get the brake wear sensor. So to begin with, we're just going to grab that. So that's coming through here, so we know it's that outside line here. Pop open that. And then just make sure you're holding both sides of the clip so you're not pulling on the wires. We're replacing this as well. Around there. That can just stay in the pad because it's all getting replaced. So the same as the rear, we're going to pop off the retaining clip, which is the same as just prying against the rotor just to loosen it. And then the soft line. And then we also have the little retaining clip here, and that's just holding the soft line into the little bracket. So just with a little flathead. We're able to just wedge that in there and just bring it up slowly. And then we're able to just move that one out and up. And that's the brake line off.
So we're just going to undo the bolts to be able to take the caliper off. Now, a key thing to mention here is that the backs were actually 16s and the fronts are 18s, so you're going to have to change socket size. Also, there's quite a lot of stuff in the way of this top one, so using an actual 18 is kind of the way to go there to be able to get in. So I'm just going to crack these and move them up. Get a 6mm Allen and pull off the actual rotor now. Sometimes you just need to shock it because it spins.
So it's going to install the front caliper. We've already put one pin through the top. We're just going to bolt it up and then put the bottom pin in. So just going to slide it on. One bolt down. What?
The noise from the pellet wrecking guys are trying to be real nice and quiet. Come on, Lukey. We're waiting.
Okay, so I'm just doing those bolts hand tight for now. And then Harry can tighten those up underneath. And we're just going to get the retaining spring in as well. So just going to flip that under there, like that, and then thread this in from the back. Perfect. Cool. And then just give that a tap with a little mallet or something. You can just get a little pin on there and push that through just so it's set like the top one is into the thing.
So because we just did the brakes and Luke had to undo all the brake lines to be able to change over the calipers, the reservoir is a little bit empty, and to get to the reservoir it requires you taking off this tray, which just sits at the back in the cowling. You just take it off, fill it up, and we'll start the bleed process. So just sitting in the car ready to pump the brake. Luke's outside. He's just going to crack each nipple on the caliper, and there is a specific order that you do this in. You want to start at the caliper furthest away from the reservoir. So in this case you start with the back left or passenger left, and then you go back right, driver's side right, and then passenger front, and then front right, and the reservoir sits on the driver's side right. So back left is the furthest away, and that's the one you start on. Just filled up the reservoir. It's going to be quite empty from taking off all of the lines and changing over all the calipers, and it's all over the floor now, so there's going to be a bit of a clean. But you can see little Lukey sitting up.
Ready to start pumping it.
There you go. So he's just giving me the all clear to start pumping it. Just building pressure. That way when he cracks the nipple, it'll flow out, get rid of all the air, and you don't want any air in the system. Well, actually, first of all, you can pump it the whole way through. And the reason that you pump it the whole way through is just to kind of clean the system, get nice fluid in there. And then, oh man, I'm getting tired. Legs just going hard. We'll get there. Yeah, so Luke just said that we're just going to go straight back to the rear and work our way around. We've just pumped all the fluid through each one, and now we go back to the furthest one away from the reservoir, which is the back left, and start bleeding all the air out of it and making sure that the system's all clear.
So we've bled the brakes, taken it out, bedded them in. So that was just a process of slowly moving into pushing harder and harder on the brake pedal. So first to about 30 kilometers an hour, 20% brake pedal, down to a stop. Same 50%, 100%, till they get nice and hot. And then we've brought it back and we're just going to let it cool down now, and then it should be good to go and done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's it for today on this car. So this is the first introduction to another car that we've got in the fleet, and Luke's daily driver as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
It's good.
Okay, we'll sign out for today.
Yeah.
And
See you guys next time.
yep, sweet. Okay, we're filming. So what did we say last time?
Hi, and welcome back.
Yeah.
We're at Waste Industries Workshop.
Yep.
Alright, cool.